Taiwanese BL series have truly been some of my absolute favorites in the industry ever since I became a fan. But aside from the popular titles in the catalog, there are a few BLs that have become my low-key favorites, even though they are constantly criticized for various reasons, and I guess it's time to highlight these shows. Without further ado, let's get started. Beginning our list, we have DNA Says Love You. Looking back at DNA Says Love You after all this time, I still hold a massive soft spot for it, despite how much people constantly criticize it. What makes this show a total low-key favorite for me is its incredibly brave and groundbreaking approach to identity and gender-fluid themes that you almost never see in typical BLs. The comforting chemistry between the leads really anchors the emotional weight, proving the beautiful point that love simply transcends physical labels. On the flip side, the series definitely trips over itself with some frustratingly sluggish pacing and clunky dramatic subplots that dragged out the central mystery. Still, even if the execution wasn't completely flawless, the pure heart and meaningful representation behind it make this a hidden gem I will always defend. Next on our list, Plus and Minus. Whenever I need a comfort watch, Plus and Minus is always one of the first shows that comes to mind, despite how much flack it gets for its writing. The absolute highlight is the childhood friends-to-lovers dynamic between the main leads, whose insanely natural chemistry and top-tier skinship make every domestic moment feel so cozy and real. Even when the fandom complains about the show, it remains a beloved staple because it manages to deliver that rare, mature adult romance where the characters genuinely feel like soulmates. Granted, the series definitely takes a hit in the second half, with some incredibly forced, frustrating angst and a separation trope that felt completely unnecessary. But despite those messy narrative missteps and a somewhat lackluster secondary couple, the pure warmth of the main relationship is exactly why I'll always defend its spot on my favorites list. Also included on this list, About Youth. Few shows capture the pure and nostalgic essence of high school romance quite as beautifully as About Youth. It remains my total low-key favorite because the visual aesthetic is gorgeous, the indie band OST is incredible, and the main couple serves up some of the most wholesome, butterflies-inducing chemistry you'll ever see. Of course, the biggest and most constant complaint is that the series is frustratingly short, with only 8 brief episodes that leave a lot of the secondary storylines feeling completely unfinished. The heavy family drama and intense parental pressures are introduced with a lot of emotional weight, but they get resolved way too quickly and cleanly to feel genuinely realistic. Even with those structural flaws making it feel more like a mini-series teaser than a full drama, the sheer warmth and comforting vibes of the characters are exactly why I find myself constantly rewatching it anyway. Number 4. VIP Only. I keep finding myself defending VIP Only because despite its obvious flaws, it has an incredibly cozy charm that makes it impossible to stay away from. It remains my total low-key favorite because the domestic atmosphere is unmatched, and the main couple has some of the most natural and effortless chemistry. Watching their romance unfold over bowls of delicious beef noodles is so therapeutic, especially since their physical intimacy eventually becomes unexpectedly passionate and mature. Granted, the show faces constant backlash for having a razor-thin plot, a slow-moving narrative, and a secondary couple that feels entirely irrelevant to the main arc. Still, even if the storytelling is weak, the pure comfort food energy and genuine warmth of the leads are exactly why I'll always have a massive soft spot for it. Another low-key favorite of mine, Anti-Reset. There's no denying that a human-robot romance sounds incredibly cheesy on paper, but Anti-Reset completely won me over with its massive heart. It holds a solid spot as my low-key favorite because the absolute devotion of the AI companion, Ever9, creates an incredibly moving and therapeutic healing journey. The chemistry between the leads is surprisingly tender, making their daily domestic interactions feel deeply comforting and emotionally raw. Granted, the series faces plenty of valid criticism for its logic-defying sci-fi plot holes, some cringy comedic moments from the side characters, and a final conflict that felt a bit forced. But even when the writing gets a little ridiculous, the pure, unconditional love at the center of the story gives it a unique warmth that makes it impossible to forget. Next, we have My Tooth, Your Love. It might sound ridiculous to say a drama centered around dental phobia became one of my absolute go-to comfort shows, but My Tooth, Your Love is just genuinely special. What makes it my total low-key favorite is the refreshing maturity of the main couple, whose incredible communication and realistic and passionate skinship make their romance feel so beautifully healthy. Watching the patient, protective dentist slowly melt the anxious chef's deep-seated fears gives you an endless supply of comforting, feel-good vibes. On the downside, the series faces constant criticism for its secondary couple's age gap romance, which many fans felt had an awkward mismatched dynamic that slowed the pacing to a crawl. Even with those narrative stumbles in the side plots, the sheer lack of toxic drama and the overall emotional warmth of the main leads are exactly why this remains my personal favorite. On our 7th spot, we have See Your Love. If you can look past the incredibly chaotic assassin subplot, See Your Love stands out as an absolute hidden gem. Critics and fans often call out the clunky pacing and how the main lead starts off a bit too overbearing, which definitely makes the early episodes feel a little rough around the edges. However, the show completely redeems itself through its beautiful and deeply respectful portrayal of a deaf protagonist and the spectacular directing that captures every bit of emotional depth. What makes this a low-key comfort watch is how it masterfully balances those quirky, questionable tropes with an incredibly tender healing journey and top-tier main couple chemistry. Ultimately, even with its flawed writing, the sheer warmth and genuine heart of the romance make it a show I'll always defend and rewatch. Last, but definitely not least, Secret Lover. I wasn't sure how a plot built entirely on fake relationship training would play out, but Secret Lover completely hooked me with its fast-paced, chaotic energy. It has solidified into a total low-key favorite because the physical chemistry between the main leads is absolutely electric, serving up some of the most intense and uninhibited kisses and sweet domestic moments. Granted, the show gets hit with plenty of valid criticism regarding Hantuo's highly questionable boundaries, as his manipulative tactics to isolate Junshi throw up some serious borderline toxic red flags. The narrative also stumbles in the second half when the fun, energetic pacing suddenly grinds to a halt to handle rushed, overly serious subplots like workplace harassment and heavy family drama. Yet, despite those structural flaws and the moral gray areas, the pure addictive entertainment value and the lead's irresistible magnetism are exactly why I find myself defending it. Of course, my low-key favorites aren't just limited to Taiwanese BL series, they extend to other BL shows as well. Which often criticized BL series do you consider your low-key favorites? Thank you for watching. That's it, and see you on the next one.